There are a lot of mechanics at play in Gotham Knights that you might not be used to, especially when it comes to the game's skill trees, traversing the open world, and the crafting and modding systems. So we'll give you some nice early tips here to make sure you get the best start possible. Leaving a like on the video would really help us out, subscribe for way more Gotham Knights content, and let's go! So one of the things you want to unlock as soon as possible is your Knighthood tree. This is the fourth set of skills in each hero's skill tree, and getting access to it immediately unlocks your hero's ultimate ability and heroic traversal, both of which are really useful to have early on regardless of who you're playing as. The challenges for each hero are the same and they're actually really easy to complete. First thing you need to do is the timed strikes training, which you can just do by going to the training dummy in the belfry and accessing the specific training. You need to hit timed strikes by pressing the attack button when your current attack hits the enemy, which is also useful to remember in combat as timed strikes will generate more momentum, which is of course the resource you use to power your abilities. And while you're there anyway, doing all of these early on is pretty smart as it helps you understand the game a bit better and you also get some XP from it as well. To continue working towards knighthood, you also need to defeat 3 mini-boss enemies, which you find either at crimes in the open world, but you are also able to find multiple of these during your first visit to Blackgate for a story mission, which is by the way part of your first case file, so it's very early on in the game. And then the final thing you need to do is complete 10 premeditated crimes, which are the crimes that appear on your map with these red triangles. Now you can of course fail a crime, which means you lose it and then it disappears from your map, but if you play it right, you can already get your 10 crimes by the second night of patrolling, which is super early in the game. There are 2 ways by which you can discover these premeditated crimes, as not all of them will appear on your map immediately. The first way of doing this is by interrogating enemies. You will have to complete a tutorial for this as part of the story anyway, but we do have some extra tips for it as well. To quickly explain, some enemies will have this question mark appear above their head when you scan them with AR, which you of course do by holding down on the D-pad. Alternatively, you can just go for the enemy with the highest level in a group, as in our experience that one always has the intel. And then you need to grab this enemy either from stealth or by lowering their health to about 30%, and then you should see a button prompt for interrogation, which is triangle on PlayStation or Y on Xbox. And also, if you're looking for a specific faction crime, you can of course check the map to see which gangs operate in what region to interrogate the right person. And while interrogating enemies can reveal new premeditated crimes for your current night on patrol, you can also discover some by traveling past them or by looking on your map. These crimes that are indicated with a question mark can actually disappear though, so you want to do them as soon as you see them. And this is different from the premeditated crimes that are already marked on your map, as those will only be gone after you end a night. And by the way, there's actually also a way to learn about crimes that are coming in the next day. You do this by collecting clues, which are a resource randomly dropped from enemies. You can easily farm this from the random crimes that occur all over the city, marked by these triangle icons. You can then check your clue level at all times on the map, and after you return to the belfry, the amount of clues you've gathered will determine how many premeditated crimes will appear on your map immediately when you start your next night of patrolling. So by doing this, you can easily get those 10 crimes you need for your final knighthood challenge. And after doing so, you again unlock the full skill tree with some very powerful perks you can unlock with ability points, each hero's ultimate, which will speed up battles drastically and is also super useful against bosses, and their heroic traversal, so the teleport for Robin, the mystical leap for Red Hood, the glide for Batgirl, and the glider for Nightwing. One thing you should keep in mind though is that you have to unlock this tree for each character individually. So while the challenge is the same for each one, you'll have to do the training, defeat the mini-boss, and do the premeditated crimes 4 times if you want your knighthood tree on all characters. You also have to unlock the momentum abilities for each hero separately by doing specific challenges, but apart from that, switching characters in Gotham Knights is really easy and the game respects your time. All heroes level in sync, so if you've leveled up one and then switch, you'll be on the same level on your new hero and have a lot of ability points waiting for you, allowing you to immediately unlock a large part of their skill tree. And there's actually another type of progression that kind of carries over between your characters, and that's gear progression. Now gear is mostly hero specific, so you don't get all your gear back, but the special heroic items that you often get as a reward from story missions or villain arcs will also unlock on each of the heroes that you're not currently playing. So while recording for this video, I decided to try out Batgirl, and as you can see, even though I've never touched the character, I already have some high level suits and weapons waiting for me, so I can immediately take on the higher level enemies in the game. Also, if you have the special deluxe edition items, then you immediately start the game out with some powerful heroic gear on each character, which includes the very cool looking Beyond style suits. But no matter at what point you decide to switch characters, you'll still want to unlock your Knighthood tree as fast as possible, as each character's heroic traversal is by far one of the most useful things you can get. I've been cruising around Gotham on Nightwing's flying trapeze ever since I got it, which is a significant upgrade when you compare it to the grappling hook you start out with. A quick tip for that, by the way, you can launch yourself into a jump by pressing X or A while you are grappling towards a point. But unlike Marvel's Spider-Man, however, which had a similar mechanic that I was used to, you don't need to time this button input, so pressing it early after you grapple onto something is actually way better, as that way you make sure you don't miss the jump. And while you're mid-grapple or jump, you can already aim for your next grappling point, which makes scaling buildings and traversing the city in general a lot easier. And while you can of course use the grappling hook together with your hero's movement ability, there is an even quicker way to get around Gotham, but you have to unlock it first. You do this by talking to Lucius Fox and completing his first mission, which is part of your second case file mission. He will give you access to fast travel, but you need to unlock the different fast travel spots in the city first by scanning these special drones. Some of them have a shield, which means you need to wait for them to land at a recharge pad to scan them, so it can take some time, but it's really nothing too challenging. And after scanning all drones in an area, you can use that specific fast travel point. So really worth it to just get this out of the way and unlock all of them as soon as you speak to Lucius, as it will be useful for the rest of the game to get to crimes or mission locations way faster. It's of course also nice if you decide to go hunting for collectibles, like the hidden batarangs that are kind of easy to spot thanks to the purple glow they emit. I highly recommend picking up all of these as soon as you come across them, not necessarily because they give you a little bit of experience, but more so because collecting all of them will unlock an extra ability point. The same is true for some of the street art and landmarks you can scan, so definitely keep an eye out for these. It will save you a lot of time when you do eventually decide to go for those final ability points. And once guides for these collectibles become available, we'll make sure to add them to the video description. Another thing you definitely want to check out is the options menu, as there are some nice changes you can make to your experience here. You can of course turn off enemy health bars and damage numbers for a more immersive experience, but something I recommend for sure is changing your interaction trigger from hold to tap, as that means opening doors or chests only requires a single button press instead of having to hold the button down, which can sometimes take a while. You can do the same thing for activating and disabling your AR vision, and you can also make waiting a bit less tedious by turning on the option to auto dismiss your loading screens instead of having to manually press a button. You find this under the UI settings, so turn it on to immediately get back into the action. Finally, you can also change the way you break free from the frozen status from repeatedly tapping the button to a single tap again. Really nice, especially against the regulator enemies that bring a lot of frost weapons. Another thing that will really help you out in combat is having a look at your mods from time to time. While the stat increases you get from them aren't huge, especially not from the ones you find early on, slotting these in items with a mod slot will significantly increase that item's power rating. Higher level mods will always give you more power no matter their rarity, so make sure you update your mods every time you reach the belfry if you found any ones that are better than the ones you're currently using. Now it is worth noting that rarity does give you better individual stats on each mod, so you can totally make a case for a lower level rare one over a higher level green mod. Just make sure to put them on your newly crafted gear at any time you can. You can just slot mods in and out of items as much as you like, you don't consume them, so no need to worry about putting the wrong mod on the wrong item. And you can also switch them out during missions and while on patrol, although the same can't be said for crafted items though. While you often find blueprints for gear that are better than what you're currently wearing, crafted gear only appears in your inventory in the belfry. Meaning that if you craft a suit while out patrolling, you don't get it immediately, but it will only appear in your inventory after coming back to your home base. Which, depending on the blueprints you found, can definitely be worth the wait, as a lot of times crafted gear is as good if not better than the gear you find. And you'll be earning the base resources at a pretty respectable rate, so really any gear up to blue rare quality is safe to craft, as the resources you need to make those, so the ones we're showing right here, are easily available. You might want to craft some epic items too once you get the blueprints, as next to having better stats, these will often have 2 mod slots instead of 1, which means you can upgrade the gear's power power even more by slotting a second mod. The resources for these epic items are a lot more scarce in the beginning, but when you start working towards the end of the game, you will find a lot more of them. So when you hit the late game, you should be able to craft a lot of these epic items, but it definitely doesn't hurt to make one earlier on to help you get to that point if you have the resources needed to craft it. And as an added benefit, crafting gear, specifically suits, will also give you access to more different looks on your character, which is definitely part of the fun in these superhero games. And there are a ton of cool outfits to unlock here, all of which are customizable with different cowls, boots, gauntlets, hero icons and color schemes. So you can even vary your looks between two outfits of a similar style. If you want, you can even choose to apply the look from a different armor set thanks to the transmog system, although a big downside here is that these are not customizable at all. So while normally this metal suit I'm wearing is customizable, if I choose to apply the transmog while wearing a different type of suit for the stats, it will always look like this. You can't change the color or the cowl or pretty much anything, which is a bit disappointing to be honest. You unlock the different transmog styles through various means. Basically, any mission that has this icon on it will reward a transmog skin, and there are already some crafting challenges you unlock early on in the game that tell you how to unlock some of the different styles. And again, if you've got the deluxe edition, you get a bit of a head start as the amazing Beyond and Nightwatch skins are already unlocked. But we will do a video on how to unlock each transmog outfit in the game, by the way, so stay tuned for that. If you have any more tips for Gotham Knights, let us know via the input@joraptor.com email address or in the comments below. Of course, subscribe to the channel as well, as we got way more content on the game coming your way. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. And if you want, you can watch our previous one that should help you decide which character you want to main. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.